everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 283 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I cannot be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think could be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. Today, we are going to be talking about specifically the fact that you can do it financially, and you can do it specifically in your investing, okay? And I'm going to be talking about this in terms of what I say in the financial action plan. Because yesterday, I was talking about the choice on whether to invest or pay off your student loans, and I know there are a lot of dissenting opinions as to, why would I pay off my student loans? I can invest and make more, and we talked about that in yesterday's episode, and you can go check that out, okay? But I told you, hey, let's pay off our student loans first. Okay, let's get our student loans paid off. Let's get out of consumer debt before we invest heavily, before we invest at least 15% of our income for our future. So today I want to talk about exactly how investing 15% for your future can actually get you somewhere and how it can actually make it worth it, given different time periods, given different particular rates of return that you may earn. Right? Can you actually build the nest egg that's worth living on over a long period of time? And my argument is yes, you absolutely can. And I want to help you do that. I want to show you how to do that in today's episode. So stick around for all that and more in today's episode. Before we get started, though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to build a financial plan and keep you accountable to a financial plan over a long period of time, then I can do that. Just DM me on any of the major social media sites and tell me that you are interested in financial coaching sessions, and you and I can begin working together, pushing towards some long-term financial goals that you have for yourself, and then ultimately pushing you on towards long-term financial freedom, which is what I hope for every single individual watching or listening to this show on a day-to-day basis. So here's my goal today. My goal today is to convince you that you can do it in your investing. It's to convince you that if you were to just start and if you were to just do what I lay out in the financial action plan, even though it may be a little uncomfortable, even though it may be a little difficult, it will be extremely worth it over a long period of time. Okay? I want to lay out several scenarios based on a certain amount of income that you may make, because a lot of the reasons that individuals cite for saying, hey, I can't do it, right? I can't invest for the long term. I can't put money away every month is they talk about their income, right? They talk about, I don't make enough money. I'm not able to do this, right? I'm going to show you how easy it is and how little you actually need to get to where you need to get to over a long period of time. Now, my assumptions today are going to be simple. My assumptions are this. My assumptions are that you budget uniquely on a monthly basis, right? You have your budget under control. You control your spending, right? You already have an emergency fund in place, and I mean a fully funded emergency fund in place. You are completely out of consumer debt other than your mortgage, okay? And now you're at a place where you can put away 15% or more of your income, okay? Now, the thing is, a lot of people may get to this point in the financial action plan and say, okay, well, 15% is just a lot, and I just don't feel comfortable with 15%. But let's think for a moment. Okay, let's just clear our mind of what your income is, clear our mind of where you are right now financially, and let's just think. How much do you think the average student loan payment in America is today? I don't have the number right in front of me, but think about that. How much do you think that is? How much do you think a new car payment is, right? Or even a used car payment. Let's say 2 used cars in the typical household. How much do you think those payments are? How much do you think the typical household has to pay on credit cards every single month? How much do you think payments on medical debt that are on payment plans are? Think about all those things. Add those together, right? Find those averages. I don't have them in front of me, but I just want you to think, right? And then divide that out by your income on an annualized basis. My guess is that this is going to be a situation where that's 15% of your income or more. Or it's pushing 15% of your income, and there's no reason that you can't throw on an extra few percent, given that you don't have any other bills, you don't have any other debt, you don't have any other obligations other than investing for your future and then spending your money how you choose to spend it, okay? So 15% sounds like a lot, and I'm going to tell you what these amounts are for these different income levels that I'm using today. But you need to understand that once you get to this point, right? You should be able to muster up this much money. You should have no problem taking this percentage of your income and putting it away for your long-term future, okay? So these are the income levels that I chose, and I chose them, not arbitrarily, right? But I chose them because they kind of cover the basis for the average American. Okay, I started as low as $30,000 a year. I said, okay, let's start with an individual who makes $30,000 a year, which is not a whole lot in America today, right? And if you make $30,000 a year, I want you to know that you can still build some semblance of wealth over a long period of time, just like anybody else, right? I want to motivate you to know that you can be able to do it. If there's anybody that I want to motivate to start, it's that individual, right? So I started with the $30,000 a year, then I went to $50,000 a year, just a good round number there, then $75,000 a year, and then $100,000 a year. My assumption here is this. My assumption is if you make less than $30,000 a year, you have an income problem, and you need to make sure that you get that income back up to a point where you can actually live and pay your bills before you ever get to investing. And my other assumption is that if you make more than $100,000 a year, there should be no excuse as to why you can't invest. Right? Now, I know there are different costs of living in different places, right? But I think most people would agree that if you make over $100,000 a year, you make a decent living for yourself just about anywhere in the U.S. Okay? I didn't say a great living. I just said a decent living. It pays for a whole lot more in a bunch of different places than others, right? But $100,000, anything more than that, you should be able to build wealth over a long period of time. So I want to talk about the vast majority of individuals making between $30,000 and $100,000 a year. Okay. And again, what I'm going to break this down by is the number of years that you have to invest and particular rates of return that you can make. And so we'll start just with the $30,000 a year bracket. Okay. And here's what we start with. We're making the assumption that you are putting away 15% of your income. Okay. Now, 15% of your income on $30,000 a year on a monthly basis is going to be $375 a month. Notice I did this on the gross amount of $30,000 a year. Okay. So that's $375 a month. And you may say, gosh, I make, $30,000 a year. You divide that out. That's not a whole lot of money. And then, you're talking $375 a month. That's a lot of money. But again, we don't have any debt here. We're out of debt. We're, in a position where we have some savings, right? You should be able to muster up $375 each month. Okay. Now, this also could be a situation where 15% of your income, even though I think you should be putting in 15%, right? If you're in one of the lower income brackets and you have a job that offers an employer-sponsored retirement account that has a match, right? And that match can allow you to get to 15% without you doing the whole 15%, right? And maybe you can use the rest of the 15% to further yourself in your career, push yourself to make more income over time, then by all means do that. But I think you should be putting in 15% of your income, but a match can be helpful. And a match can be helpful for all these individuals because just think about this 15% of your income. An employer may match, 4, 5, 6%. Okay, so you may get a nice little, 20 to 25% bump on the amount of money that you're able to put in here. Okay, so again, let's start with the individual making $30,000 a year. And let's just say that they have 10 years to invest. So that we're starting with an individual who started extremely late, okay, because I want to give you guys the most hope that I can. Now, I say I want to give you the most hope that I can, but 10 years is not a long time, okay? And my guidance of, investing 15% of your income for your future is not going to be super valuable if you only invest for 10 years. Okay. You're going to need to be far more aggressive than that because 10 years is just not a lot of time. 10 years is not a lot of time to build any type of sustainable wealth over a long period of time. So here's what you would have. At a 4% rate of return, making $30,000 a year, you invest for 10 years, you would have $55,218.68. Like I said, not a whole lot relative to what you'll need. You make 6%, $61,454.76. You make 8%, $68,604.76. And then you make 10%, and you would have $76,816.87. Okay, so I'm already making the case for the fact that you need time to invest. Okay, and especially if you're an individual who's only making $30,000 a year over the course of your career, you need time to invest. Okay. Now, everybody needs time, and you'll see that as I go through these different income brackets that everybody does need time. Even the individual making $100,000 a year, if you only give them 10 years to invest, they're not going to be able to stack up anything substantial for retirement and for their long-term financial future. Okay. It's going to be very, very difficult to do so. But if you are somebody who doesn't make a whole lot of income, you absolutely need to make sure that you start as early as possible. Okay. Now, something else that is flawed about these assumptions that I'm making, and I want to be very, very clear about this, is that these are static assumptions, right? I'm making the static assumption that you're going to invest for exactly 10 years. And I'm making the static assumption that you'll never make more or less than $30,000 over the course of your lifetime. And hopefully, if you're somebody who makes $30,000 a year right now, and maybe you're in your 20s or 30s or whatever, maybe that's not where you end up, and hopefully that's not where you end up, and you can make more money and put more money away over time, okay? But I'm just saying, given these static set of assumptions, right, what would be the outcome? And you see there with 10 years, the outcome is not great, okay? So you're saying, okay, Dylan, this is kind of quashing your idea that 15% of your income can do anything for you over a long period of time. Well, just wait and see. So let's step up from 10 years to 20 years, okay? If you have 20 years to invest, you make $30,000 a year. You invest, you make 4% a year, right? You'll have $137,540.48. Okay, so we're stepping it up a little bit, but still not enough to sustain yourself on over a long period of time. Then you make 6%, that's $173,265.34. Then if you make 8%, $220,882.66. And then if you make 10% on your money, that's $284,763.31. Okay, so at the higher end of rate of return there, over a 20-year period, if you're investing 15% of your income and you make $30,000 a year, you're getting extremely close, and it'll be the same for all of these scenarios that I give you, right? You're getting very, very close to a point where you could just pull off your interest in retirement and make the same amount of money that you made while you were working, right? Because $300,000 a year would get you to a point where if you made 10% a year in retirement, which is a lofty goal, but it is potentially doable, right? If you made 10% a year, you could pull off $30,000 and just live on what you're living on now, right? So 20 years is getting you closer to a point where you could sustain yourself. I would still say that you need longer than 20 years. I would still say that 20 years is a little shallow as the amount of time you need to invest in order to retire comfortably. Now, let's just look at this in perspective for just a second, okay? We're talking about 20 years. And you're like, dang, if 20 years isn't enough, then I got to start now. Well, yeah, you do need to start now. You need to start as soon as you get your financial foundation built, right? But 20 years is really not that long. And if you just don't wait until the very last minute to start, 20 years should be extremely doable, and 30 and 40 years should be, possibly on your horizon. Now, if you're, only looking to invest for a 20-year period, it's likely that you're already in a position where you're going to have to work later than most individuals when it comes to age. But let's just think about this. 20 years would be like investing from age 50 to age 70. Okay, and a lot of people end up working towards age 70 or really close to age 70. So this is saying that you didn't invest a dime until age 50, and 15% of your income still almost got you to a point where you could sustain yourself and the amount of income that you made in retirement. And again, this amount is not taking into account that you have a spouse that makes any amount of money. Now, this could be a household income idea, right? But let's just say for an individual, this is not taking into account that you have another individual in your household that's making any kind of money and investing as well. This is not taking into account the fact that you may have some type of pension, or you may have your Social Security that will supplement your income, right? This is not counting any other income sources. This is just saying, can we build something for ourselves just putting away 15% of our income? And 20 years is almost enough time to do so, right? Given long-term rates of return on the stock market, which 10% is the long-term average approximately, right? 20 years would be a point where you could almost sustain yourself over the long term in retirement without pulling out any principal. Now, if you wanted to pull out some principal, you could sustain yourself for a long, long time in retirement on that 20-year amount that you had accumulated by your investing life. So again, 20 years, 50 to 70 or 40 to 60, right? So this is assuming that you don't even start until then. But if you just started let's say at 30 and work to 60, right? You started investing at 30 and went to age 60 at $30,000 a year. Here's where you would be, okay? At 4%, you would have $260,268.53, okay? Then at 6%, $376,693.14. At 8%, $558,884.79. And then if you made a 10% rate of return, you would have $847,682.97. Okay, so you see a big jump here if you just wait that extra 10 years. Okay, that extra 10 years is absolutely huge in your ability to be able to put money away over a long period of time. So when we're talking about investing over the long term, we're talking about investing for your long-term financial future. What we're talking about is doing it over the long term. 30 years is a long period of time to be investing, right? There's no doubt that that is the case. Okay, so we have to look out longer. We have to start earlier. We have to know that this is a long-term process. Now, are these amounts enough to sustain us? Now, at a 4% rate of return, that $260,000 number is not probably going to be enough. If we're just living off of this, right? This is probably not going to be enough. But all right, you go up to the 6% amount, and then you have $376,000 approximately, right? You could make less than 10% a year and just live on the interest, making $30,000 a year. So that would be possible, okay? You'd be in a position there where you're looking at approximately 8% would be your withdrawal rate, which is still a high withdrawal rate, but it is a withdrawal rate that could potentially be doable. Then if you made 8% on your money over a long period of time, you would only be requiring about a 5.4% rate of return in retirement in order to get to where you could sustain yourself. So that's extremely doable. And then if you had made a 10% rate of return and you got that $847,000 number after 30 years, right? Then that's only 3.5% withdrawal rate in retirement to just maintain principal. So you see, invest for 30 years, put away 15% of your income, and you can sustain yourself on whatever amount of income you have, okay? So that's 30 years. Then 40 years is obviously going to be icing on the cake. It's going to be a bunch of amounts that are likely going to be able to sustain you over a long period of time. And again, 40 years is a long time. That's 20 to 60 or 25 to 65 or 30 to 70. That is a long time. Okay. But again, it's not the assumption that we're going to have to live off of our nest egg 100%. There's not going to be any supplementary income, but there's less and less supplementary income as the years go on. So here we go. 40 years, 4%, $443,235.50. At 6%, $746,809.03. At 8%, $1.309 million approximately. So there, you can be a millionaire making $30,000 a year if you just make 8% on your money annually and do it over a 40-year period. It's possible. It's 100% doable. Okay. Then if you make 10%, that's $2.37 million approximately over a 40-year period. So don't tell me that you can't do it even if you make $30,000 a year. If you just follow the financial action plan, you get your financial life in order, you can, over the long term, build a financial life worth living. I promise you can do so, and those numbers prove it. Now, I really wanted to motivate that individual. Okay, so I'm going to go a little quicker with the other income brackets, but I just want you to see that all of this can be done. And it kind of all falls in the same bucket as the $30,000 individual, because the $30,000 individual couldn't really sustain themselves on what they were making until they were pushing that 30 years of investing on 15% a year investing. And again, I tell you in the financial action plan, 15% or more of your income. If you can live on less and invest more, then by all means do so, and that will allow you to get through this process even quicker. So if you make $50,000 a year, okay, and you make, I'm just going to go through and I'm going to hit the 8% numbers, because over the long term, I think we can expect an 8% rate of return on the stock market, right? So this would just be a reasonable number to hit and move right along. So if you make 8% a year, you invest for 10 years, making $50,000 a year, that's $114,341.27. You invest for 20 years, that's $368,137.76. You invest for 30 years, that's $931,474.66. So you almost become a millionaire if you just make 8% over a 30-year period, investing 15% of a $50,000 a year income. Okay, then 8% on $50,000 a year, 15% invested over a 40-year period, that's $2.181 million. Okay, so don't tell me you can't do it. You can do it too at $50,000 a year. Okay, now at $75,000 a year, obviously the $1 million mark is probably going to get hit even quicker. It is, okay, because you're putting away more money. And let me just backtrack to yesterday's episode and remind you that the number one determining factor of you having money in retirement, of having a retirement nest egg that is worth living on, right, that is enough, is the amount of money that you put in. And that's what I'm trying to suggest to you here, that 15% of your income is enough money to put away. It is enough money to have in your nest egg if you give yourself time. Okay, again, the less time that you have, if you only have 10 years until you're just hanging it up forever, right, you're going to have to be more aggressive. If you only have 20 years, you're going to have to be a bit more aggressive. Okay, that's why people who start late in the game try to be very risky with their investments, because they know they're going to have to make up for it somehow. And they're not willing to sacrifice their income and invest more, but they are willing to take whatever they're investing and put it in riskier things to try to make higher rates of return. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's just the psychology of the individual investor. Then, if you make $75,000 a year, invest 15% of it over a 10-year period, making 8%. That's $171,511.91. You do it for a 20-year period, making 8%. That's $552,206.64. Then you do it over a 30-year period. That is $1.397 million. Okay, $1.397 million. So this is a situation where, hey, 30 years, you invested. You made only $75,000 a year over your working life, but you got to the $1 million mark quite easily. Then you invest for 40 years, 8%. That's $3.272 million. So you're seeing more and more here, right, that starting earlier and putting more away is going to do a lot for you. Okay, because the income here is just determining the amount of money that you're putting away, because we're just assuming 15% of your income. So the more income you make, the more that you're putting away. So the more you're putting away, and the longer time periods here are really doing a lot to change the amount of money that you would have. Now, let's say you make $100,000 a year. Okay, you make $100,000 a year, and you're like, I just want to become a millionaire. Okay, well, let me tell you, it's not going to require as much work as these other individuals, but it still requires time and it still requires work. So if you're putting away 15% of your income, making 8% over a 10-year period of investing, making $100,000 a year, that's going to be $228,682.54. Okay. You go to a 20-year period, that's $736,275.52. 30-year period, then you're at $1.862 million. So bingo, there you go. So you hit it well before the 30-year period, if that's the case. And then you get to 40 years, that is $4.363 million that you have invested for yourself. Listen, this is all extremely doable, right? This is all extremely doable. You can do this. You can invest to the point where you actually have money for your future. You can invest to the point where you actually have built wealth for yourself. Now, here's the trick to all these numbers that I've given you. I know the numbers have gotten larger as I've gone to larger income brackets, right? But the amount of income that you made, which is obviously the amount of income that you're trying to replace in retirement, right, at minimum, then that amount of income divided by the amount of nest egg that I named out for you, right, does not change over the amounts of money that you made. Okay, so let me explain that a little more to you. Okay, for instance, I'll just take the 40-year time period, $30,000 a year at 8%. Right, I said that's $1.309 million. Okay, if that's $1.309 million, then what would be my withdrawal rate to never have to touch my money in retirement, right? What would be the withdrawal rate where I just would never have to touch anything? It would be 2.29%, okay? The same withdrawal rate would be the withdrawal rate I would use to take out $100,000 a year off of the $4.363 million that I would have made if I would have invested for 40 years at 8%, making $100,000 a year. Okay, so ultimately, even though the numbers get bigger here, right, the withdrawal rate stayed the same, because it's all based on your income. It's all based on a multiple of a 15% of that annual income being put away every single year. So all I'm trying to show you is that you can put enough money away to retire over time. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes sacrifice. It takes you being willing to put money away, right? Whether it's $375 a month if you're the $30,000 individual, whether it's $625 a month if you're the $50,000 individual, whether it's $937.50 a month if you're the $75,000 individual, or whether it's $1,250 a month if you're the $100,000 a year individual, right? That's a lot of money to be putting up, right, for retirement. That's a lot of money to be foregoing consumption on to invest. But it is going to be so worth it if you do it. If you just put it into your index funds, your mutual funds, any investments, right, that are going to grow for you over a long period of time, if you just do that, and leave it alone and let them grow and keep feeding them and feeding them and feeding them over a long period of time, you can do it. And the way that this ties back into yesterday's episode is that, yes, is it going to take time? Of course, right? But I wanted to show you that even if you take a few years to get your student loans paid off, even if it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 years, right? And you're in your 20s, you're still going to have time to build some substantial wealth for yourself. Okay. And I hope, for all of our sakes, that we make more income than these income brackets that I put us within here. Okay, I don't want us to all just be making at most $100,000 a year. Strive for more, strive for making more income, but understand that if you are just investing a percentage of that income, you will end up at higher amounts. But relative to the amount of income that you're trying to replace, it'll be the exact same percentage that you're trying to take off every single month relative to the other individuals who invested 15% of their income for however long in those same brackets. So just keep that in mind and understand that you can invest and you can invest effectively. Okay. And I don't want you to get so down on yourself that you're just like, I don't think I have time. I don't think I have the ability. I don't think I have. No, you may have to sacrifice more. You may have to put more than 15% away. That's why I qualified the 15% with saying 15% or more, because it may be necessary that you do so. Okay, but for most individuals, right, if you're a 25-year-old who's trying to start your financial life, okay, if you can build your financial foundation and get out of debt and build an emergency fund and then start putting away 15% of your income for your future, you're likely to be a millionaire. Okay, you're likely to be a millionaire if you invest for your future 15% of your income every single month. Okay, but if you're a 45-year-old who needs to clean up their financial situation and build their financial foundation and then start investing 15% of their income, by your retirement years, you probably are not going to have enough time to become a millionaire unless you get really, really crazy about the amount that you invest. Okay, which you can definitely do. You can become a millionaire with that amount of time, but it's going to take a lot more sacrifice. Moral of the story here is that it's doable. And moral of the story is here also that even though we all have different starting points, we all start trying to clean up our financial lives at different points, or we all start investing at different points, we can all get to some semblance of long-term financial freedom and financial wealth, right? I want you guys to build this wealth. I want you to own these assets so that you can have them for yourself and live a comfortable retirement, and then ultimately pass them down to your kids or give them away to things that you think, hey, this is worth putting my money behind and making a difference in the world, right? That's ultimately what I want you to do with your wealth. Okay, I'm not wanting you to just build this wealth so you can look at it and say, oh, pretty number. No, I want you to be able to do practical things, but I want you to enjoy it. I want you to be able to spend it. I want you to be able to give it in such outrageous ways that you could have never imagined. Okay, so hopefully you'll take this to heart. Hopefully this helps you to be motivated towards actually investing for your future. And if you're that individual out there who's making $30,000 a year and you don't think you can do it, hopefully I helped you today. Hopefully I helped you to gain a bit of perspective, and just know that something as little as $375 a month will get you there. And I've told all of you many, many times, if you have the time, okay, if you can invest $158 and I think 13 cents a month and make 10% a year on it over a 40-year period, you're a millionaire, okay? And if you start earlier, you'll have to invest less. Okay, that's just the name of the game. That's the name of compound interest. That's the name of growing your money. You start earlier, you'll have to invest less to get to the same place. Okay, so just take this to heart and put this into practice and actually act on it. Actually do some investing, okay? But do it in the right order. Do it in the order of the financial action plan, and I will not steer you wrong. And I'll continue to push you to invest and get your financial life right. And I'll help you with all the minutia and details along the way, but you just need to get started. You need to begin paving your road towards long-term financial freedom. So thanks for watching this video. If you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to build a financial plan and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just DM me on any of the major social media sites and tell me that you are interested in financial coaching sessions. And you and I can begin working together, pushing towards your long-term financial goals, and then ultimately pushing you on towards long-term financial freedom, which is what I hope for every single individual watching or listening to this show on a day-to-day basis. So tune in tomorrow as I continue talking about personal finance topics that I think could be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.